going to be a lawyer initially, and I went to law school twice and dropped out of uni. Mum and Dad weren't very happy with me at all. And then I worked at a shoe shop, and then I got into real estate when I was about 20. I just went and knocked on some doors looking for a job, and someone gave me a job at Roberts, I think it was, and I've pretty much been in it ever since. So I never really had a dream to be doing this, but I've always wanted to do sales, basically.
What is the pathway to becoming a real estate agent?
Well, it's actually not that hard, and lots of people from all different walks of life get into it these days. One of the good things about it is you can be, a really young person. You can be someone in their 60s that's sort of semi-retired. There's a course that you do through the Real Estate Institute. You can do a course actually like classes, or you can just do it by correspondence. You can get a pack of information, study, and then you sit an exam. And once you've actually got that license, you're qualified to be a real estate agent.
What are the benefits of being a real estate agent?
Oh, there's heaps. It's very flexible, like you sort of run your own time. So unlike, a lot of, say, office jobs where you've got to be there at, a certain time in the morning and you only get half an hour for lunch and you have to be there till a certain time at the end of the day, you can pretty much run your own times. It can be financially really rewarding, although it is very hard work. I think that's one of the misconceptions that people have, that they think that it's an easy sort of job. But it's financially rewarding if you work hard. You get to meet lots of really interesting people. It's a very varied sort of a job, you know what I mean? Every day is different. Some days are horrible, some days are fantastic. You can work weekends as well, but I think it's a great career for people to have.
How important is networking?
I reckon that's probably the most important thing. I often say to people that want to get into the industry, it's not actually about selling houses. I don't actually reckon you can sell houses, which sounds weird, I know, but you can't convince someone that doesn't want to buy a $400,000 house to buy that house. If you're selling shoes or pens, that might be a bit different. What it's really about, I think, is meeting a lot of people, gaining people's trust, and having a really good system in place to sort of connect those people. So we run computer systems with what we call a database. So everyone we talk to goes onto that database. When we get a new house or something for sale, you've got to get on the phones and talk to people as much as you can. I'm a member of a few clubs, like I'm a member of a golf club, and I'm a member of a couple of different things. We sponsor some sporting clubs and charities and things like that too, which is important, to give back to the community as well, and that helps to raise your profile too. So networking is really important, and I encourage all the staff to do that as much as they can. And it's the people around you, it's your family, it's your friends, and everyone's sort of either got a house or live in a house or know someone that does. So you've just got to be talking to people all the time.
What are your strengths and weaknesses?
Weaknesses are easy. I'm very impatient. I can get a bit grumpy occasionally. It's hard to hide that sometimes. I do struggle with that whole balance, that work and life balance thing. That's something I find hard to do. But people would say that I'm impatient would be my main weakness, I reckon. Strengths, I guess, look, I'm really happy to work hard. I like working hard. I get really sort of committed to a job, and I like to see it through. People say I've got the gift of the gab, I don't mind talking. So that's probably about it. I don't want to talk too much more. I'll sound a bit too on myself.
What qualities do you need to have as a real estate agent?
Well, I reckon most people would say things like, you've got to be a great salesperson, or you've got to be good at, selling and things like that. I don't agree with that. I think hard work, so a really good work ethic, being really organised, You've got to be really organised because people are sort of coming at you with different things all the time. So I reckon it's a really good work ethic, being highly organised, and just being prepared to sort of bounce back from rejection, I guess. You speak to a lot of people every day and every week. Not everyone likes real estate agents. In fact, a lot of people don't. There was, I think, a poll the other day. I think we were less trusted than politicians and journalists, apparently. We were right down the bottom of the list. So sometimes you're sort of battling against that too. So you've just got to be able to rise above that, and having a good degree of integrity as well. You've got to be comfortable in yourself when you go home that you've done the right thing by people, and that's something that I've always prided myself on, I guess.
What are you passionate about?
Oh, heaps of things. Mainly my family. Work for me is a means to an end. I've got a wife I've been married to for 21 years. I've got an 18-year-old son and a daughter that's nearly 15. So, my family is the number one thing in my life. I'm obviously passionate about this business. We bought it back in March 2012, so 4.5 years ago. So really passionate about working hard and making this business a success. I love politics. When there's an election campaign on, I love watching all the interviews and news shows and things like that. Love sport, love Collingwood.
Do you have an analogy about that?
Yeah, I reckon it's a bit like organised chaos. You come into the day. Well, the way I am, I like to think of myself as being really organised. You try and plan your day and structure it and things like that. But because of the way this business is, you've got to be ready for the unexpected to happen. So, organised chaos is probably a good way to describe it, I reckon. Patience, which is completely a dichotomy to my impatience weakness, and that's something I do battle with. When you're dealing with staff, all sorts of things can come up. They've got personal issues at home and things like that. So you've got to be very patient. You've got to be my belief is you've got to lead by example. As an owner or a manager, I think asking your staff to do things that you aren't prepared to do is unfair. So I would never ask my staff to go and door knock or do something that I hadn't either done or would be prepared to do with them. So leading by example is really, really important. Being really committed to people's welfare as well. I think you've got to be very flexible as an owner too. In today's world where it moves really fast and people work really hard and they've all got phones and they're checking their emails after hours, you've got to be prepared to give people some time. So, one of our policies here is people have a day off for their birthday and think, I want people to sort of be able to have some time to spend with their family. Big opportunity for us. It just came completely out of left field. I'd never even been to an island like this before. We actually had to fly over there in a light plane, and I'm terrified of small planes, like with propellers, and it was just tiny, this plane, on a fairly windy day. But it was an amazing place. We took our Chinese salesperson Yolanda with us. We took a couple of other staff and we met with the owners and spent pretty much a whole day walking around the island, getting video and photos and things like that. And what we found is when we actually took it to market, we got a huge amount of publicity. We were having calls from the Mercury and we had calls from Sydney. I had a call from a bloke in Germany that was wrote a property magazine in German. So we just got all this international exposure, and that really made the process of finding a buyer actually a little bit easier. But it was a really good lesson in terms of dealing with the media as well, because a lot of the stories that have come up this week have actually been 95% made up. So you've got to actually be really, really careful about your dealings with the media when you ask questions. I never mention a sale price. I never mention the identity of a buyer. Most of the quotes weren't actually current ones that I'd done. I never provided a photo, so I think it's a really good lesson that when you